Economist. So I am on my lunch, so I only have about 30 minutes here to do this live stream. Thought I would talk a little bit more about the video that I had posted earlier today about the shortage of dollars that many countries outside of the United States are starting to face and the impacts that is going to result from a lot of that. Now, some of the things that I have going on, or what I've noticed here in the United States, is that a lot of people are focused in on what's occurring here. They don't really think about what's occurring outside of the United States and how much demand for dollars exists outside of the United States. When they do see some of the information, it's generally something of the BRICS nations trying to abandon the dollar, de-dollarization, dollar weaponizing, everybody hates the dollar, but that's not necessarily the truth. Like, you go to just about any country outside of the United States and they will accept dollars, no problem. Like, they have no issues with it whatsoever. And so a lot of times when we see these articles and we think about the de-dollarization and we see, oh, I better cover this part up. Sorry guys, let me cover up the logo here. And we think about some of the de-dollarization things that are taking place, it's more about the lack of available dollars out there than it really is about people wanting to get out of the dollar itself. What they really are trying to do is do the transactions. And that's ultimately, at the bottom line, what everybody wants to do, is to be able to transact. And just because the dollar seems to be the one common currency that everybody will accept, or, typically would have accepted, it makes it the number one currency out there that everybody wants to do deals with. So take a look at that video that I had done and take a look at the description. There is tons of articles out there describing the dollar shortages that are going to be happening out there. But even here in the United States, the misconception or the misunderstanding of what is actually happening with the money supply. Because like even yesterday, for example, because I work retail sales, right? I work at a lumber yard. I do retail sales for a living. And I was selling some plumbing fittings to a guy yesterday. And, he comes in, he's kind of in a little bit of a panic. He had to drive from the other part of the county because the other hardware store that he had gone to didn't have these particular fittings on hand. They were out. So he comes down to my store. Sure enough, I have them there on the shelf, no problem. We go to ring it up, and this is the funniest part about the whole thing. Like, the guy drives up, he's driving a fairly new truck, he's dressed fairly decent. It looks like he's a professional. It looks like he knows what he's doing. Like, he's probably doing a remodel job or something like that. And he puts these plumbing fittings down on the counter. I ring him up. I tell him the total, and he gets real angry and he says, "Goddamn Democrats." And then he hands me a 20 and I give him the change. He takes his receipt and he leaves. And I'm thinking, did you just blame the price of that plumbing fitting on Democrats? Like, how did you associate that? Like, how did you put those two together to make that happen? Because this guy was like really angry about it. And so I thought, well, how much are these plumbing fittings compared to what they used to be? Maybe I just missed it, right? They're a little change to them. They're not quite the same, a little bit different product than what they used to be, but they're fairly close to what they used to be. And so I did a quick research on it because I got, access to my previous sales, and I went back to 2018 to see how much we were selling these particular fittings for, and it was $1 cheaper. So literally it was a $2 difference from 18 years ago to what you were paying today, which, I understand that's like 10% on a $20 bill, but to be so angry about it that he was so mad about it. And I thought to myself, that is a misunderstanding of what's happening here. His frustrations are coming out in his prices, and he's blaming it on political parties or something like that. But that doesn't have anything to do with it. Like, the prices that we had experienced today here in the United States was due more to a supply chain breakdown in the lack of availability that drove the prices up. And the reason I can say that is because if I look at lumber right now, it's like a 2x4 sells for around $4 a piece. In 2017, I was selling them for $4.29. There is no change in the price from 2017 to 2023 when it comes to lumber prices. Right? Where did all the inflation go? And it's not just lumber. 15-pound felt. It's not exactly like the most common building paper out there for vapor barrier, but it is a very common one that I've been selling since I was 18 years old. And the price of it is $35 a roll. 5 years ago, I was selling it for $32 a roll, right? So it's gone up right? But like $3 on an entire roll, most people don't even notice the change of it, right? So again, it's more of our perception of what is taking place here that is driving a lot of what it is that we are feel that of what it is that we feel is taking place. So here we think, man, hyperinflation, inflation scenario, Fed lost control of inflation, dollar destruction due to the BRICS, due to de-dollarization, due to the weaponizing, due to the sanctions. We hear all this stuff out there. But meanwhile, you go to foreign nations out there and they are scrambling for dollars. Even China right now, who is like the king of de-dollarization, right? Everybody wants to, China knows that everybody wants to get out of the dollar, and China's going to lead the way and everything is going to go towards China, right? I mean, this is what a lot of people are saying. I'm not saying that, but a lot of people might take on that kind of narrative. But go and look at the link that I leave down in the description. China is doing their best to try and hold on to as many dollars as they can right now. And so what does that tell you? That there is not there might be the movement towards de-dollarization, but it's not for the reasons that a lot of people are trying to say that it is. They're trying to say that they don't want to be part of the dollar. That's not it. They want access to liquidity, period. That's what they really want. They can care less if it's the dollar or gold or some other foreign currency. What they want to be able to do is freely and easily do transactions. That's ultimately what it comes down to. And that's how come the dollar is so dominant right now, is because it is by far the most liquid currency that you could possibly have out there. The US Treasury is the most liquid bond market that you could possibly have out there. And because of that, there is really nothing else that is going to provide what it is that the dollar can do. And that's mainly the ability to transact freely, openly, quickly, right? And as soon as we see any kind of drawback in the dollar, right? You think about it, the dollar is not disappearing. The dollar is getting hoarded. It's not I guess some of it's disappearing when the Federal Reserve is, doing their quantitative tightening. But it's not like, all this money is just evaporating into thin air, right? It's getting hoarded away. And they're trying to push another currency out there. This is Gresham's law taking place, right? Where bad currency chases out good. It's the same reason why the dollar was able to take over as far as the world currency, replacing gold. There was a time in which that people thought 1-to-1 with gold, right? The dollar was just as good as gold. You could change your dollars in for a fixed amount of gold. Therefore, dollars were gold. But then when they realized that there was far more dollars than there was gold out there, the dollars had pushed the gold out of the economy. Essentially, everybody hoarded it up. The only thing that was left was dollars. And so they had to remove the whole gold, sever the gold standard from the dollar, just so everybody could have liquidity. That was the demand that was taking place that really got people using the dollars, that they just couldn't do the transactions with gold like they had once done because the economy had grown so big. The dollar was then being the liquidity, the provider of liquidity, the United States was. And everybody loved it right up until the point that they realized that they had printed far too much. And then that's when everything kind of went to shit. Okay. Man, that was really quick for 8 minutes. I was trying to do this really fast because I only have, a half an hour lunch here. So, all right, let's cruise back up to the top. What up, all-nighter? Great to see you here, man. Eric, what's up, UE? Love you, brother. Love you too, man. All right, hit the like button. The little heart next to the chat function doesn't get it done. All right. Ahoy, please. I'm not demanding. Gas can hit $9 $9 a gallon. It won't slow people down. Also, legit unhinged. Weird pricing in electrical building supplies. Why is 250-foot 2.3 Romex 108 and 15-foot is 401? Yeah, right? It's because there was a lot more being produced at the 250-foot mark than there was of the smaller packages. But yeah, I've noticed the same thing. You will find and also you have to think a lot of the input cost that goes into products, right? That doesn't allow for the product prices to change. As far as come down, it allows for when the input cost goes into the product and by the time it makes it to the retail shelf, those prices are elevated. But when the input cost falls, and then you have new product coming in, those new products can come in at a cheaper price while the previous products that had high input costs remain at an elevated price. This is one of the reasons why you're going to see a lot of brand changes, you're going to see the logos change, because the high input cost stuff is going to have a particular logo to it. The new lesser inputs, cost is going to have a different logo to it, and it's going to come in at a cheaper price so they can be competitive again. So people will look at their old product saying, well, this is the one that I used to buy, and now the prices are quite expensive. I have to shift to another brand, right? But it may not even really be another brand. It might just be another branding. Like the logo might be a little different, the product might be a little different, but ultimately be the same thing. This is something that I am experiencing right now within the building industry. I see it in fiber cement, I see it in paint, I see it in a few other products. And I'd imagine that, if you were more into like the distribution of a lot of these products, you could probably pinpoint it down to a lot more of this happening as far as these branding shifts that are occurring. All right. He just had to blame someone other than himself. All right, build back the thing. All right, it kind of does. It's money printing. We, the people, haven't held our representatives accountable. It's not all their fault. That's exactly right. That is so true. Like, people say like they complain about the politics or anything going on in this. I mean, we voted for this, right? I mean, I personally don't like the people that we are given to vote for. So, I mean, I look at like, the lesser of two evils is still evil, but ultimately we are responsible for the condition of this government right now because we are we are to elect the representatives and hold them accountable, but nobody does that. You're right. Leadership is responsible for everything going on. I don't think so. I don't want to blame leadership because in that sense, like, I don't blame leadership for this one reason, is that in order to fix the problem, we would have to vote new leadership in. I don't think that would work, right? I think the problem can be cured or be fixed if there is a fixing to it, whatever the problem might be, because everybody's problem is going to be a little bit different from everybody else's. But it doesn't start with an external, right? It starts with the internal. Like, if I can't fix the things that are going on with me, then I can't expect the externals to change, right? So people will look out there and say, man, if I had a better politician, a better job, a better place to live, a better all this other stuff, they have all these externals that they're trying to fix. They'll realize that once they fix all those problems, that they still have problems because the problems aren't the external, right? The problems are the internal in the way that you are bringing yourself to this world, the way you're interacting with the economy. I mean, if you are frustrated with it, if you don't like what's happening out there, you might want to take a look at how it is that you are feeling about the economy and if you are blaming the externals out there. Because really, it's a matter of taking this information in and then figuring out what it is that you're supposed to do with the information. If you take the information in and say, man, I'm going to blame that person over there, then you'll always be blaming somebody else. Yeah. All right, an uneducated economist, are you off work today? I am not. I have to go back to work in about 15 minutes. All right, must be lunchtime, Bittner, and he's feeding us. Yeah, I'm trying to do it really fast here for you guys. All right. And foreign nations want to change that. I think that they would want to change the idea that they would rather have other forms of liquidity, right, to be able to do transactions with besides just the dollar out there. But ultimately, they just don't want to be punished. They don't want to have the fear of sanctions. They don't want to have to be under the United States rule or something like that. That's ultimately what they want. They don't care if it's another currency or something like that. The ultimate care that is happening is to be able to do transactions and to be able to do transactions, right? And that's where I think a lot of people start getting very concerned. They see what's going on with the United States and how they, put these sanctions on Russia and other nations and stuff like that. And they're like, whoa, man, I don't feel good about this at all. But it's ultimately, they want the dollar to do what it's doing. Like, they want the liquidity. They want to be able to do the transactions. That's what they really want. Yeah. All right, lunchtime live stream. Nice. Yeah, thank you. All right, Fed can't shrink the monetary supply. Whole system would melt down. Got to keep cranking all that funny money. But, well, the thing, they are right now. But that's what they're doing right now. They're in quantitative tightening. They are reeling in some of the Federal Reserve's liabilities, right? They're allowing treasuries and mortgage-backed securities to roll off the balance sheet. Now, whether or not the growth of debt continues, adding more to the adding more dollars to the currency supply. It's not maybe just the Federal Reserve printing up liabilities or something like that, but the access to dollars or contracts that are doing dollars, That might continue to grow in a sense that the dollar, the system continues to grow, but the Federal Reserve itself is in a quantitative tightening motion. That's what's causing the liquidity issues that are happening here, is that people see that the Fed is reeling in the dollars and they're like, whoa, I better get a hold of my dollars as much as I can right now. And they're hoarding up and grabbing those dollars as quickly as they can. This is Gresham's law, right? If you understand like how Gresham's law has bad currency chasing out the good, that's exactly what's happening here. Is the dollars are getting hoarded, and then they're like, man, how do we do transactions? Yuan, rubles, rupees, anything? Can we do any kind of transaction? If we can't get our hands on the dollars, what do we do? And that's what's facing. And then they blame. And then they say like, oh no, we're doing this because we truly want to. We don't like the dollar. We're doing this as de-dollarization, as like some kind of like abandoning the dollar. That's not what's happening. They're trying to get a hold of anything they can in order to do the transactions with. Argentina is a great example of that. Like Argentina loves US dollars, but right now they're setting up accounts in yuan because they just don't have the access to dollars. There's a dollar shortage taking place because everybody there money, oh no, I'm not giving up my dollars. And they just grabbed as many of those dollars and they stuff them away as quickly as they can. All right. Because all of the QE that the Fed did since 2008, we have too much liquidity in the system, 3.5 trillion, more liquidity than before 2008. The Fed raising interest rates only will not fix inflation. Well, it's because the inflation wasn't caused by the money printer. It was caused by the supply chain breakdown. And so long as you have continuous supply chain breakdowns taking place, or issues with trade or anything else you got going on, limiting the amount of available products to come into the country, or the fact that they're not even being manufactured, that really is what's driving prices, right? Supply and demand, that's what dictates prices. The expansion of money and credit, that's the inflation. Prices are the symptoms of that. So here we have a bunch of money in the system. Prices are showing that. But really, if you think about what the Federal Reserve is doing, is they are in a deflationary scenario, reeling in some of those liabilities out there. Give it time, and it will show itself in the economy. But it's, it takes time for this to react. Thanks for educating us on your lunch break. Well, thanks for being here and being part of the conversation. That's really what this is all about. I come up with these ideas. I try to share some of my opinions, whether you agree with them or not. I think we end up with a really good conversation and, some thought-provoking things to bring up. So, mind-blowing take on the dollar. Best economist online. Have a good day. Well, thank you very much, Jeremiah. I really appreciate that, man. All right. I watch wire prices like a hawk. Those smaller lengths rolls are multiple times more than the 250-foot rolls. Again, it's bulk. And it's the amount that's coming in. You think about those smaller rolls, like they produce tons of those things. They sit in a warehouse, right? But those bigger rolls are by far the most popular ones. That's what all the electricians are buying. That's what all the, industry buys. They buy those 250-foot rolls. So the turnover, let's think about it like that. The amount of turnover that has taken place with the 250-foot rolls is by far higher than, say, the 25-foot roll. So the 25-foot roll has high input costs. It's stacked up in a warehouse. It's going to take forever to get through all those little guys. The 250-foot rolls, those things are in high turnover, so they're constantly moving. All the ones that we buy now have the low input costs into them. That's the reason why that wire is so much cheaper. I mean, at least that's the belief that I am putting towards it, because that's what I see happening, So, I mean, whether or not that's the truth, I don't know, but that's what I see, so that's what I'm going to call the truth, All right. Hey, Simon, do you think XRP is on the radar to help with liquidity? A lot of people want me to push XRP. They really do. And I'm not trying to deny XRP as being, everything that everybody has, claimed it to be. My biggest issue that I have with XRP right now is that everybody who is promoting XRP is within XRP, right? They're somehow either engaged in some sort of action that has XRP involved. I have yet to see anything from the Federal Reserve saying that XRP is going to be used. I mean, cannot find anything. Now, I have found documents from the Federal Reserve website in which that other people have talked about XRP to the Federal Reserve, and it's in letters and it's been mentioned, but nowhere can I find that XRP is going to be used. It was XRP could be filling in the position of, kind of ideas, stuff like that. But nowhere did I find that XRP is the kicker, right? I mean, I haven't found that yet. So no, I don't. I don't believe anything about XRP as far as being the one that providing liquidity. I don't. Not at this point, right? I mean, if I can find some information that changed my mind, then I'll tell you that. But I don't see it yet. Back at it. Great to catch you live. It's been a while. Well, thank you very much, Steve. Thank you for being here. Like the stream. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. We got 190 of you up in here, 61 thumbs up. I'm going to be out here for another 10 minutes or so. Congrats on reaching 126,000 subs. You're doing great work. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it was pretty exciting to see the channel get to 126,000 subs. And then, like, soon as it hit, like, all of a sudden there was like this algorithm purging of subscribers, like clearing out the dead count, the old accounts and stuff like that. So, like, I lost 250, 300 subscribers over the course of like a month or so as this purging was taking place. But then here over the last, probably week or two, I've gotten quite a few subscribers and it jumped back over that 126,000 mark. So yeah, it's pretty exciting to see. I'm looking forward to the day that I hit that half million mark. It's it's a long road to get there, but it's something that we're doing. It's not something that I'm like trying to push to make happen right away. When I get there, I get there, and as the channel grows, I'm excited to watch it happen. All right. Let's see. 12.2 and 14.2 Romex has dropped about 50%. It really has. I mean, it's dropped dramatically. And again, that's due to the lack of availability out there. If you absolutely, like, if you're building a house and it's time to wire before before all the insulation and drywall goes in, and you do not have that 12.2 wire to run, the 12.2 and the 14.2 to run the electrical, you will pay any price for it. Like, you will pay any price for that wire to get it so that you can complete this project. And that's really what ended up happening, driving the prices as high as it was. It was the lack of availability. Now that it's available again, boom, here the prices are coming down. I couldn't say that it was 50%, at least from what I've seen yet, but I can see where it would be 50% in a lot of areas, especially if you have high competition. All right. A lot of things come off the same assembly line, just put into different packages. Yes, you are absolutely right about that. And paint is a huge one of those. A lot of people are like, well, this brand's better than that brand or this brand. And I'm thinking it's all made by Sherwin-Williams anyway. All right. We need to take part of the Roman Empire. They ruled for 1,000 years. We need to take a page out of the Roman Empire. Which part? The part where they were diving into luxuries, fighting wars to bring in new money, or the part where they failed at that part and everybody fell into poverty, right? I mean, which part? Because I'm not sure, like, the expansion part of things, that was pretty cool. Like, the United States has done that. But the part where we were supposed to redistribute the wealth back out to the rest of the world because we were no longer a manufacturing base, we didn't do that part. We held on to the gold and said, here, you can have a bunch of debt. That's really what ended up happening. Capitalism is the problem. No, it's not. I don't know why anybody would blame capitalism. Sorry, Jesus, man, but it's not capitalism, right? What we have here is crony capitalism, and if we blame capitalism, we're not blaming the correct part, right? What we are blaming is a manipulated system in which that a few select handful of people get to take part in incredible profits while the taxpayer take losses. That's not capitalism. That's not even remotely close to capitalism. So we can't blame it, right? Pay working men and women a living wage and watch how many problems get solved. That, again, that's not capitalism that's doing that, right? Because if capitalism truly existed, then we wouldn't have things like minimum wage. Okay, you'd be able to compete for your wages in a tree-free open market, right? Where people can say, hey, I'd be willing to work for a particular wage, and even if it's less than what that guy is doing, I'll do it because I want that job, right? But we don't have that. You have to be able to achieve a certain minimum, right? And if you are not smart enough to, provide a profit to your boss, or at least the capabilities and skills that can profit to your boss more than the minimum wage, then you're just too stupid to work here in the United States. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, capitalism gives everybody the opportunity to take advantage of the situation, not this crony capitalism, socialist endeavor that they're going on to try and make things good and awesome for everybody. That's not capitalism, not by any means. But I do agree, people had a working wage that, could provide for them, but that's not what's going on. We're in the Cantillon effect, right? Where the pouring in of new money has raised the standard of living so that the people at the very top have a lot and the people at the bottom have to work incredibly hard for it. And there's this big separation between the two. That isn't going to change. There's nobody you can vote for. There's nothing that's going to happen that's going to make that any different or go back to the way it was, if you want to consider it that. But there's no going backwards. There's only going to be more separation between the rich and the poor until the whole thing finally collapses. They might be able to make it or appear that things are better for the lower end by providing them with more conveniences and food and pleasures, like give them the appearance of wealth down at the lower end, like the whole, you'll own nothing and be happy kind of thing. If you can do that, then you can give the appearance of wealth, then people may not really care too much about that big separation between the rich and the poor. But ultimately, everybody's going to be able to see it, and they're going to blame somebody for it, All righty. Okay, I got 4 more minutes, guys. Uneducated Economist, do you sponsor or make your job optional? Economists do... okay, Matt, I know you've been pushing me to take the sponsorships, and I should really do more for the channel, for my family, for everything that I have going on, and make it more of my own. I keep putting effort and time and energy to my job at work, and I'm not exactly sure why. Like, I know why, and my job provides me with a way of life and stuff. And it's a good job, right? But that's the only thing we'll ever do is just, provide me with my life, like with paying the bills and stuff. If I ever want to exceed at anything, it's going to have to be through something like this on the YouTube channel. And sponsorships is probably going to have to be it. I've turned down a lot of sponsorships over the last, 2 months. You gotta understand, like, that my email blows up with mainly people trying to sponsor the channel. I get it all the time. Some of it might just be scams or whatever, but it happens on a regular basis, and I pretty much have turned that down. I've turned them all down right now, just because I don't really like the way the sponsorships make me feel. I don't really like the content that I put out there. It doesn't feel like real to me, even though I'm being honest and truthful within those within the content of those sponsored videos. But still, it's just like, it's this weird thing. Maybe I just have to get past, maybe it's my own hang-ups or something. All right, 2 more minutes, guys. Let's see here. Let me cruise down to the bottom here. We got a lot of comments. Okay. What's your estimated timeline for a potential recession, depression? I think we're in it. I really honestly think that we're in it. I think this is going to be the non-recession recession that I had been talking about for quite some time, in which that the unemployment doesn't rise dramatically, and that the corporations don't really get bailed out. Like, those are the 2 major issues that take place during a recession that pisses everybody off. They lose their job and the corporations get bailed out. So if we have a situation in which that the unemployment really doesn't rise that much or doesn't go like crazy high, and the corporations have already been bailed out and they just allow a lot of these zombie corporations to fail, those people who get laid off and lose that job, their jobs go over work in the service industry. Like, to me, this is all playing out exactly the way I thought it was going to when the Federal Reserve started to raise rates and everybody was screaming recession. I said it, this might be the first time that we experience something like a non-recession recession, where people really don't lose their jobs like you would typically see, and the corporations already got their bailout. So yeah, as far as what it's going to look like, I couldn't tell you. I think we're in it, All right. Crackhead Johnny doesn't make as much as Get Her Done Gary and the Catalysm. Yeah, all right. I just turned in, and within 2 minutes, I just tuned in, sorry. Where are my glasses? There we go. Now I can read. All right, I just turned in a Cantillon effect. I heard of Cantillon effect on this channel more in a few episodes than in 5 years of university. I love it. Yeah, and you know, when you take on, let me see. Okay, I'm going to give it 2 more minutes. I'm going to leave you guys with this because I got to go. Gosh, this was so much fun, and I blasted right through a half an hour. This, if I'm going to leave you guys with anything, this is the 4 economic theories that I really seem to focus in on. Just about every time I read an article or something, I can relate it down to these four topics, right? So you got the Cantillon effect, which is something that I talk about continuously on this channel. If you haven't read Cantillon's essay on economic theory, excellent piece of literature here. He wrote this thing back in the 1700s, and some of the economic forces that you can find back in that essay occurring today. You know that some of these things just will not change. And so Cantillon's essay is an excellent piece of information to study up on, to try and understand what it is that's going on in the economy, especially the 3 chapters on the increase and decrease of money supply to a state. Those 3 chapters are just incredible. The other one is Triffin's dilemma, right? Triffin's dilemma is, how is it that as a world reserve currency with fiat currency, how is it that you are going to get this currency out to the rest of the world? And ultimately what it came down to is that you have to be in massive deficit trade, right? Where you import a hell of a lot more than you export, because when you import stuff, you export dollars. And so this is Triffin's dilemma. And if you understand how Triffin's dilemma works, then it starts making a whole lot of sense about these BRICS nations and how it is that they're going to take over, if they even can, right? And then you got Gresham's law. Gresham's law is the good money, bad money. Bad money chases out good money. If you can imagine, if you were going to make a purchase of something and you had paper in one hand and gold in the other, which one would you make the purchase with? I mean, would you really give up your gold and say, I'm going to hold on to my nice paper right here? Or would you give up the paper and hold on to the gold, right? Most people would probably give up the paper and hold on to the gold. Well, that's the case with just about any currency out there. Even if it's 2 fiat currencies, the good currency will get hoarded. The bad currency will get put into circulation. Bad money chases out good. So that's Gresham's law. And then the final one is the bullwhip effect. If you really truly understand the bullwhip effect and some of the misunderstandings of what's taken place from the manufacturer through the distribution network all the way to the retailer, and when you can see that these these misunderstandings and obscurities that happen within the supply chain can cause overproduction and underproduction to take place, which then starts throwing off the whole supply-demand balance thing. MIT did a great game. It's called the beer game, where you try to figure out how much, levels of manufacturing to stocking in the warehouses to the retail side. And as soon as you start to play with this game and mess with the numbers, you really start throwing things really out of balance. And so understanding the bullwhip effect, Gresham's law, Triffin's dilemma, and the Cantillon effect, between those 4, if you could really nail those down and understand them, you will clear up a lot of the misunderstandings that a lot of people have within the economy. So, all right. That was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you very much for hanging out. We had 227 of you on this live stream. That is awesome, with 91 likes. Thank you very much for being here. Uneducated Economist. I got to go back to work. You let me know.